Hello, everyone. My name is Ayo Oyeku. I'm a writer with a focus on children's literature and also a book publisher. I'm the founder of the publishing house, 11th House. And today, these are the poems I love. I'll be reading from two books. This one is called West African Verse, and the other one is Poems of Black Africa, edited by Wole Soyinka. I started my career with poetry like anybody else, and it started from this book. It was gifted to me by a very dear friend, and you can see her name is somewhere here, so don't worry. So she gave me this book when I was in GSS 2, and it was the first time that I ever came across African poetry in its real sense. So for a start, the first poem that struck my mind in the book was The Lonely Soul by Raphael, Ernest, Grail, Armattoe. People often call him R.G. Armattoe. I met an old woman talking by herself down a lonely road, talking to herself, laughing all the time, talking to herself down a country road. Child, you cannot know why folks talk alone. If the road be long and travelers none, a man talks to himself if showers of sorrows fall down like arrows. The lone wayfarer may talk by himself. So, an old woman on lone country roads, laughing all the time, may babble to herself to keep the tears away. Woman, you are sad. It's the same with me. This particular poem was kind of dear to me because at that time I was still trying to find myself and I felt very lonely. So when I came across this poem, it sort of spoke to my loneliness and it sort of encouraged me that if you're feeling alone, you're not the only one, there are others like that. And definitely it won't last for a lifetime. So let's go to the next poem, which is by Gabriel Okara, The Call of the River Nun. The Call of the River Nun. The interesting thing about this poem is that it has stayed in my head for a long time. I didn't cram it, but somehow the poem keeps coming back to me. And in my new book, The Magic Jalabia, I referenced this poem in it. So let's go. The Call of the River Nun, Gabriel Okara. I hear your call. I hear it far away. I hear it break the circle of these crouching hills. I want to view your face again and feel your cold embrace, or at your brim, to set myself and inhale your breath, or like the trees, to watch my mirrored self unfold and span my days with song from the lips of dawn. I hear your lapping call. I hear it coming through, invoking the ghost of a child, listening, where riverbeds hail your silver-surfaced flow. My river's calling too. Its ceaseless flow impels my foundering canoe down its inevitable course. And each dying year brings near the seabird call, the final call that stills the crested waves and breaks into the curtain of silence of my upturned canoe. O incomprehensible God, shall my pilot be, my inborn stars to that final call to thee. Oh, my river's complex course. This particular poem is also dear to me because when I was in secondary school, whenever we were coming back from school, instead of joining the school bus or getting a public bus, my brother and I would take a walk back home. So there's this river that we usually stop by on our way home, and sometimes we can actually cross that river if it's not flooded. But this particular day, it was flooded and there was no way we could cross over. So the better option was to take a longer route home. But my brother insisted that he was going to pass through that river. And I was like, that was a big risk. To cut that story short, he stepped into the river and the river swept him. That experience is an experience that stayed with me for a lifetime. I saw the river pull him in, pull him under, throw him up, like tossed him up. pulled him under. I thought he was dead because the river was basically sweeping him away. But at the end of the day, somehow, the river swept me to the other side and he survived it. So anytime I think about the river and I think of the river Nun, I try to connect with what was Gabriel Okara talking about. Definitely, maybe it's about death, about life, and about God and things like that. But for me, it's special, and I'm glad that my brother survived it. So I like that poem. So let's move to the third poem. This might take me a second because this is a very big book. So this book was edited by Wole Soyinka. It's part of the African Writers series. They're actually interesting poems. Most all the poems there are amazing, but there are some that I hold dear to heart. I'm trying to look for Vanity by Birago Diop. So the first time I came across this book was from my school library. I finished from Government College Ibadan. So we had this book in the school library, and every time during the school break, I would go to the library to read. Just pick one poem. There are lots of poems there, so you just pick a poem and read it and all that. But after I left school, I tried to get a copy of this book. It's very difficult getting this book. Throughout my university years, I couldn't get this book. So I finally got a copy through a friend sometime in, I think, 2010. And I've kept this with me ever since. So let's read Vanity by Birago Diop. If we tell gently, gently, all that we shall one day have to tell, who then will hear our voices without laughter? Sad, complaining voices of beggars. Who indeed will hear them without laughter? If we cry roughly of our torments, ever increasing from the start of things, what eyes will watch our large mouths, shaped by the laughter of big children? What eyes will watch our large mouths? What heart will listen to our clamoring? What ear to our pitiful anger, which grows in us like a tumor, in the black depth of our plaintive throats? When our dead come with their dead, when they have spoken to us with their clumsy voices, just as our ears were deaf, to their cries, to their wild appeals, just as our ears were deaf. They have left on the earth their cries, in the air, on the water, where they have traced their signs. For us, blind, deaf, and unworthy sons, who see nothing of what they have made, in the air, on the water, where they have traced their signs. And since we did not understand our dead, since we have never listened to their cries, if we weep gently, gently, if we cry roughly of our torments, what heart will listen to our clamoring? What ear to our sobbing hearts? This poem, for me, it's more of an introspection into the cycles of life, about our imperfections. I'm just trying to translate it the way or what it means to me, about our imperfections and how an older generation is speaking to a younger generation. Let's use a very relatable example. The current generation will do the Sorosoke generation, the ones that can protest. And they make it sound like, oh, all the older generation didn't even protest. They were not passionate about the growth of Nigeria. They didn't clamor for change. They didn't put their lives at risk. And now here we are, a new generation. And they are being told, gently, gently. It's not like you won't get what you're looking for, but you have to be strategic by leaning to the past so that you can actualize the future you want. I may be right, I may be wrong, but based on this point, this man is saying it's all vanity. So let's move to the next poem. And I like this particular poem because of the opening line by Dennis Brutus. So this poem is from Dennis Brutus. We're going to page 254. This poem is titled, Let Not This Plunder Be Misconstrued. Let Not This Plunder Be Misconstrued by Dennis Brutus. Let not this plunder be misconstrued. This is the body's expression of need. Poor, wordless body in its fumbling way. exposing heart's hunger by reading and hurt. Secret recesses of lonely desire, gnaw at the vitals of spirit and mind. When shards of existence display eager blades, to menace and savage the pilgriming self. Bruised through your flesh and all aching my arms. Believe me, my lovely, I too reel from our pain, plucking from you these your agonized gifts. Bears only my tenderness hungering need. Like I said, the first thing that drew me to this poem is the opener, which is "Let not this plunder be misconstrued." And the way I often interpret this poem is in relation to relationships. It could be with the maybe opposite sex or same sex. It's more about relationships and how something that seemed very unique, very special, at the point we seem to all fall apart. And a part of the relationship doesn't seem to take it well. Maybe the lady doesn't take it well, or maybe the guy doesn't take it well. So this is like a plea, which is then the truth is saying that after all is said and done, if you feel you're hurt, I'm also hurt. And in the midst of it, I think it was good while it lasted. So I try to use this to console myself based on relationships I've had with people that turned out sour at the end. Okay. So I'm going to my last poem, and some people already have an idea of the kind of poem the poem I'm going to pick, but regardless, I'll do it. This poem is titled Ibadan by J.P. Clark, John Pepe Clark. So let's go. Ibadan by J.P. Clark. Ibadan, running splash of rust and gold, flung and scattered among 7 hills like broken china in the sun. It's a very short poem, but it means a lot to me because I was born and raised in Ibadan. And if I'm going to sell Ibadan to anybody, I will tell you to look at this poem. It's a very deep poem, which I think I'm not going to do a breakdown here, but it talks about all the hills that we have in Ibadan, which makes it special. Why this ancient city is not just part of the Nigerian system, but it's like the home of Nigerian literature. And I'm glad I was born here, I'm glad I was raised here, and I'm glad that Ibadan spoke to me and gave me this gift of poetry and storytelling. Thank you, and I hope you had a nice time. Bye for now.